All right, guys, welcome to beautiful Barbados on the Tarmac SL8. Absolutely flying today. Stick around. It's the all-new Tarmac SL8. All right, guys, so again, here with the Tarmac SL8. We're out here in Barbados. Beautiful day. Real quick, guys, whenever I do these videos, the first question I always ask myself is, how am I going to help someone else today? Is my video going to be helpful? And I'm not here to sell anything. I'm just here to give my experience on riding this particular bike compared to the bikes that I already own or have owned. So if you like that kind of stuff, please give me a like, subscribe. Helps me out a lot, helps the channel out a lot. Hopefully we'll get some, good audience that I can keep doing these videos. And here on Duffy Rides, I tend to do mountain biking, motocross, and road racing and road riding. So again, stick around. And if you're ever in Barbados, hit me up on Instagram or send me an email. My details are on my Instagram and the YouTube page as well, adam@defreitas.bb. Again, just look it up on my Instagram profile, Duffy Rides. And if you're ever in Barbados, give us a call and we'll go out on a ride together, get you up on a bike and show you the trails, show you the roads. And yeah, so I've been riding the SL8 for about 4 months now. And it's been going great, but we do have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Wow, we're so lucky to have beautiful days like this in Barbados to ride. All right, we're gonna head out for a ride through the country, hit some hills. Now, I just want to touch on comfort a little bit. This bike is extremely comfortable, but comfortable for a race bike. I don't think I would recommend this bike for someone looking for an all-day bike or and just an all-around bike. Like, if you're not racing, I think there are more comfortable options out there. Think about, again, more of an all-road type bike rather than a race bike. Like, this Tarmac is definitely a race bike, and I tend to enjoy it more when I'm riding it that way. Sprinting, trying to hold speed above 30 kilometers an hour, for example, in a group ride, trying to change direction, does all that very well. But like my Scott Addict was just as comfortable to me. I mean, on a casual, on a casual ride. Let me just say that again. So maybe the Scott Addict wasn't quite as comfortable. And that was a Scott Addict RC, so also a race bike. Wasn't quite as comfortable maybe as this. In other words, well, especially not really due to fit, but when it came to the compliance, bump compliance in the frame, the Scott is definitely a more rigid bike. Specialized has done some magic here when it comes to bump compliance, and I found that in the SL7 as well, and it's even more so in the SL8. The bike just flexes just in the right spots, which gives you comfort, but it doesn't flex too much that you're giving up that power and efficiency through the pedals to drive you forward. So some kind of magic sauce or formula that Specialized has figured out with this frame. But yeah, back to comfort, I would say definitely have to go get your bike fitted. Go to a reputable bike shop or bike fitter, get a fit done, and gonna want to make sure that you have the right bar stem combo, especially if you're going with this nice Roval one-piece bar and stem on the S-Works. Make sure that you're spending that money that you get the right fit. One more thing, if you enjoy this type of video, please like, subscribe. These videos are really hard to make, take a lot of time. This is not a full-time job of mine. I just do this for the passion of cycling and riding and trying to help you guys out, trying to share my knowledge, share my experience. I just love making videos about this type of stuff. So if you guys can support the channel by giving me a like and subscribe, that would be great. And yeah. Just gonna head up through the hills now, and that's one thing I'll say about this bike and climbing now. Yeah, this goes head to head with anything I've ridden. I used to love hitting the hills on the same Scott Addict I spent the last couple of years on. And this Tarmac definitely gives me just as much confidence in the hills. You like a little bit of everything, and you have those types of roads like we do here, this bike is going to impress you very much. Of course, the SL8 is one of the lightest race bikes out there. You see builds anywhere between 15 to 17 pounds on average, or sometimes even in the 14s I've seen online. So weight is not the issue at all, or won't be an issue. Definitely have to say that the bike climbs extremely well. I really enjoy it in the hills. Just climbing up this hill here, about 8% gradient. No, not too bad, but I'm just able to just stand up, put my weight into the pedals, and cruise right on up. No issues at all. Now we're gonna come along to Stewart's Hill descent. An amazing descent with a view here. And let's talk about how the bike descends now. Now the Scott, oh, that's a bus. Bad timing, but let's keep going. Should be clear, let that bus go ahead a little bit. No, the Scott felt extremely planted descending. It was a really nice bike to descend. That's typical of Scott. I think the Scott Addict and the Scott Foil both felt like extreme planted stance. Tarmac's definitely more responsive and agile feeling on the road, but descending is also a lot of fun. So let's hit it and enjoy. Just cruising along now at about 65 kilometers, went to 70 kilometers now. Bike feels amazing. Talk about the bump compliance, and it's just soaking up the bumps really well. But there are some bumps in the road that you can't see. And it holds, I have to say, it corners amazingly well. You're just cornering at speed. I did a crit race last week. Some left and right angles, so 90-degree corners that we were just flying, and the bike handled the corners extremely well as well. But yeah, descending right up there with the best. Feels extremely confidence inspiring. I feel comfortable on the bike, positioned really well. No complaints there at all. Yeah, so unfortunately the bus kind of got in our way a little bit, but I mean, again, I wasn't going as fast as possibly could be, but we did do around 70 kilometers an hour coming down that one, and that's fast enough for today to get a feel. I gotta say, one of the things that makes this bike so confidence inspiring is, again, back to that bump compliance. Meaning the bike doesn't feel skittish, or it doesn't want to hop around on the road with the bumps. It doesn't have any hard vibrations going through it. It's not rigid. Yet it's so responsive when you put power down to the frame, and that it will help you accelerate like a bat out of hell. So again, back to this whole thing with Specialized and this magic sauce in this frame. You know, the imperfections in the road surfaces, right? I'm talking like tiny bumps that you may not see on camera. The bike just soaks them up, and it also helps in the descent, right? Because the bike feels stable on the road. Feels stable at speed, feels stable descending and through those corners just now. Again, the Scott is slower to steer through those scenarios. It feels like the bike is planted on the ground more on the Scott, but can't complain about the Specialized either. It depends on what you prefer. Specialized is definitely more snappy, side to side movement, changing direction. Specialized is definitely, it has this like recoil effect where it feels like the frame is like, wants to like bend and then snap back and propel you forward when you try to accelerate or change direction. It's that type of effect that this frame has. And getting up and sprinting is like one of the most noticeable You know, this is the part of the video that I think we're all waiting for. Like the biggest difference to me, the most obvious difference riding this bike is the sprinting. Now the chainstays or the seat stays are very flexible. You can put your fingers on them and bend them a little bit if you squeeze them together. I'll probably show you that in a moment, but I think that's something to do with this like recoil or this like snappy effect this bike has. When you get up out the saddle to sprint, the advantage over anything I've ridden before is so apparent. Like I have to shift up 2 gears if I'm not in the right gear. Makes me question if my shoes are stiff enough. Like the bike feels so responsive and snappy to accelerate. You can put all that power. Like I feel like, if anything, you don't have enough traction for the amount of power going through to the rear wheel on the ground. You can lift the rear wheel off the ground by pulling too hard on the pedals. Sometimes the rear wheel can slit if you don't have good traction. I mean, I'm talking like extreme scenarios, because the way Specialized has designed the frame, it's literally you feel like you're not wasting any energy between your pedal stroke and getting that rear wheel to drive the bike forward. Again, you have to shift up as well. You got to be ready to shift immediately when you're about to sprint, especially if you're sprinting from a slower speed. Obviously, if you're going fast already, you might not have to sprint. Change gears as much. But if you're going along at an average speed and you try to get up and sprint, be prepared to shift quickly, because the bike is going to shoot forward and you're going to have to get that gear shift right. Yeah, so I'll just say, if you're getting up to sprint and you're rolling along at an average speed, let's say you're doing like 20 kilometers an hour, and you just want to shock your buddies on a group ride, or maybe you're in a group in a race and you want to sprint away, put down an attack, you better be prepared to shift up to taller gear right away, because the bike just shoots forward. It's like incredible how responsive, how quickly this bike puts power to the ground. I think this is one of the bike's party tricks. I feel like this is definitely an advantage this bike has over other bikes. It's more noticeable than on the SL7 that we have at home, actually that my dad rides. The SL7 also is more responsive of a bike than the Scott Addict RC, and also changes direction faster than the Scott. But the SL8 has, again, like this, it literally feels like there's a spring that's wound up. It's waiting for you to unload the pressure on that spring and shoot you straight forward. It's a very unique sensation that the bike has when you get up to sprint. And definitely where this bike excels over my previous bikes. One thing I need to call out is that this bike holds speed better than the Scott Addict did. I'm doing about 32 kilometers here, minimal effort. Just regular zone 2 ride, to be honest. And I'm just holding my speed noticeably easier than I did on the Scott. Again, it's probably something that you have to do or feel if you ride these bikes back to back. But for me now, after 9 months of riding this bike, comparing it to this Scott, it's become more apparent. Also, in case I haven't mentioned it at the top of the video, I'm running 28 tires on Princeton Peak 4550 carbon wheels. And I've also run these wheels on the Scott before as well. So I just transferred them over to my SL8. So that kind of removes that variable on the wheels. So yeah, I should have mentioned that at the top, but hopefully if anyone has any questions about wheels, that will answer it. So yeah, let's get back to the shop and provide a quick summary on who this bike is for and get your comments as well. All right guys, so we're back at St. John's Church in Barbados. Got the ocean behind me. This is one of my favorite riding spots. But yeah, let's finish up the review of the Tarmac SL8. So one more thing guys, I'm 5'9" or thereabouts, and this is a size 54. It's a do-race group set, as well as the one-piece bar and stem. Princeton Carbon Works Peak 4550 wheels on the bike. So this bike does ship with a negative rise, slight negative rise on the bar stem. Just be aware of that. Once again, I do highly recommend, especially if you're not typically on a race bike, please go into your bike shop, have a bike fit done. You know, don't make the mistake I did. I suffered some back pains for a couple months just getting this fitted right for me. So amazing bike, but all bikes need a bike fit if you're going to be serious about your riding and you want to get the best experience out of whatever bike you purchase. Okay, so who's the Tarmac for? Well, the obvious one, it's definitely for racers, but I think most people want to know, can this be a bike that I can enjoy just on weekends, on group rides during the week, Saturday with friends? So the answer is yes, of course. Pretty much almost all the bikes are so good these days. They can be all road bikes or bikes that you can use. However, I would say that this bike, it wouldn't be my first choice for an all-around bike. I think there are more comfortable options out there. Like I said in the video earlier, this bike is extremely comfortable for a race bike. It does have amazing compliance on the road, soaking up the bumps and so on, like I would have touched on. But I do think that it's, like, I wouldn't put my dad on this bike, for example. He does have an SL7 as well. But I think, you know, if you had to do it all over again for him, I'd recommend something else, maybe the Roubaix or another brand. Just a more endurance-focused bike. You know, I think bikes like the Giant Defy, or perhaps, like I just mentioned, the Roubaix. There's so many nice bikes out there that can be your one bike to do it all. I hate to say that because, like, everyone says that these days, one bike to do it all. But there are better options out there. Of course, if you do race and you want a bike that can be comfortable as well during the week, then yeah, this bike is perfect for that. You got enough space to run your wider tires. I'm running 28s. You can run 30, 32s comfortably on this, 34s even. So yeah, at that point, I think you do get more use out of it that way. You know, it could be your bike to do it all. If your racing is your priority, then yeah, definitely the S-Works or the regular Tarmac SL8 can be your one bike to do it all. Back to the standout features of this bike. Definitely for me, I found this bike loves to sprint in the drops. Whereas my Scott Addict RC preferred me to be in the hoods when I was sprinting, where I find that the SL8 does well in both, but I do find that for me personally, when you're in the drops, this bike sprints and just feels amazing, like when you're sprinting. For me, it's just really comfortable to sprint in the drops on a flat road, especially on a flat road, obviously on this. Actually racing last weekend, I just remembered, like, yeah, this bike loves that, and I try to do that more often, just adapt my riding style a little bit, put power down while I'm in the drops, standing and sprinting in the drops, and that helped me a lot on this bike. So just something that I found stood out on it. Again, like I mentioned, this bike is extremely quick to accelerate. So if you have to stand up and do an attack, be prepared to shift up a couple of gears, because it does demand that you shift. The bike is going to shoot off before you even know it, and you're going to need to be in that taller gear to continue on. This bike definitely accelerates much faster than anything I've ridden before. I think it's because the chainstays are so, I don't know, the chainstays have some flex in them here that I do think aids with that, like, recoil effect. It almost feels like there's a spring, like I said in the video earlier, there's a spring loaded or compressed, and that spring just wants to rebound and shoot you forward. That's kind of the best way I can describe the way this bike likes to accelerate. Yeah, so back to that sprinting topic, one thing the bike has also made me realize is you definitely want to make sure that your shoes are adjusted as well when you want to sprint. It's made me realize that like, the bike is not lagging in any way in responsiveness, which means that just in the same way it can spring forward and almost it makes you have to shift like faster to keep up with the acceleration. The rate of acceleration is so fast. You gotta be ready to shift fast as well. It's also put my shoes into question. Makes me realize, hey, there's been a couple of times where I've gone up to sprint and the bike is absorbing all the energy, but if your shoes have that little bit of give in it in the BOA system, it can call that out and make you realize, wait a second, my shoes aren't even as tight as they can be. Like, that's how responsive this bike is. It really puts all the other gear that you have into question. Can I shift fast enough? Can I keep up with this frame? Are my shoes tight enough right now to make the most of what the bike has got to give? So I just don't know how it gets any better than this when it comes to sprinting performance. It's just been fantastic in that way. And like I mentioned earlier as well, it also holds speed really well, better than the Scott Addict RC that I had. Obviously, this bike is more aero than the Scott, and when I say Scott, I just mean the Addict RC. I couldn't compare it to the new foil because I don't have that bike. It's obviously a very fast bike as well. But this Tarmac SL8 holds speed faster, holds speed easier, especially like above 30 kilometers an hour. It will hold the speed easier than the bikes I've had before. And that's using the same wheels. So I've had these Princeton wheels on the Scott, and now I have them on the SL8, and it's clear to me that the SL8 holds the speed faster on the road. One other thing, I think as a buyer of a new bike today, you have to ask yourself, like, because all the bikes are so good now, can't really go wrong. I think if you're looking at this bike or another bike, maybe it's the Colnago Y1 RS or the new Scott Addict RC, Trek Madone. You know, there's lots of bikes out there that you can consider, and all would be great bikes. However, I find like the Tarmac SL8 is kind of a hard bike to love. If you like bikes different, like from what your buddies have, like there's so many Tarmac SL8s out there, and even here in Barbados, like so many people have these SL8s right now for racing, and just for their all-around bikes. That, for me personally, makes this bike hard to feel attached to. Like, I prefer to have a bike that's different. It's kind of a tough one. I really love this bike a lot, but at the same time, I'm like, I wish I had something different. So if you think you want something different and you want to feel that like you don't have something that everyone else has, then I do think there are other options out there that you might just feel more emotionally attached to. Whereas, yeah, I think that's the word, emotion. There's, for me, a little bit less emotion when a bike is so popular. Like, this bike is popular, and it's popular for good reason. It's just that, I mean, it's a tough one. Would I buy this bike again? I suppose so. I would buy this bike again. I just kind of wish most people didn't have it. So, okay, guys. So hopefully that helps. Again, great bike for racing. Great bike to do it all. It wouldn't be my first choice if you're not a racer. I do think there are better bikes, more comfortable bikes, better endurance bikes out there that would, you know, allow you to put more miles in. Just due to the geometry, nothing to do with the stiffness. Again, this frame is very compliant, but it's nothing to do with the geometry of the frame itself. But I do feel like an endurance bike would offer up more comfort, definitely more comfort, if that's your priority. So if you're only racing a couple times a year, again, consider something else. Or if you just want to have this, you know, the Tarmac SL8 is kind of like the shiny sports car in the Specialized lineup. So if that tickles your, if that pulls at your heartstrings, then by all means go ahead and get the SL8. You won't be disappointed. It's a great bike. My opinion is just that if you buy this bike, you'll make the most of it if you also race and want to be fast in your group rides and stuff like that. That's what this bike is made for, and it definitely delivers. So guys, once again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next one.